Hello y'all. I wanted to show you a little bit type of different project that we're working on. I wasn't making the YouTube videos and stuff when I started on this, which was a while ago, and so we didn't get a whole lot of recording of, or any recording of up until now, of making this. But what I have is a Russian side-by-side. It's actually called a drilling rifle, and it's made by this company here. I'll let you pronounce it if you can. See if we can get that in the light right enough to be able to see it. But anyway, that's the company name. And this is a new stock I built for the gun. So you can see it has a kind of a different look to it. And it's built around the customer. I actually fit this stock to him. But I'll go over that in a second, how we did all of that. But just in case any of you are under the false assumption that I don't make mistakes, I do, and I'm going to show you a pretty costly one. I've saved this blank that I started on. And you can see how it's been mostly milled out for the receiver on the gun. The slot's been made going down through it. This is basically this is an oversized blank, of course. And I like the shape from there. Now when I show you the gun, it has a very heavy left cant to the gentleman. He's a good sized gentleman. And I wanted to fit it and drop the stock down on his shoulder a little bit, bring the gun up. So we started with a rather large piece of wood. Did all the machine work as I had earlier specified. Got the receiver so it was fitting real nice. Of course, there's a threaded bolt that goes through the stock, and you tighten it up from the back. And that's what holds the gun into the stock. Standard on most all firearms, rifles anyway. So I drilled the hole down through the front, as you can see. Started that hole in. Then I decided to turn it around, and I had lines and transfer lines and everything on it, as you can see, which didn't quite work out because drilling from the back side, I came through the side of the stock. So at that point, you're like, I don't want to do this project anymore. This is about 10-12 hours and getting this much of it done, setting up and doing the different milling aspects of it, and then hand cutting out all of this. So I kind of back burnered it for a little while. I was actually disgusted. I wanted to say, here, you know, but I didn't. He actually convinced me to finish the project. The customer did. So as I said, I was going to show you the difference. This is the stock that the gun had on it originally. Kind of reminds me of like a little bit fancier AK stock, and in a lot of the ways it was machined and worked. You can kind of see, you know, the tooling and everything. So if you're like, I'm a little over 6 feet, this is kind of like a little toy stock almost, as you can see. Harder to show it in the video, but so the customer hadn't really wanted the checkering and things of that nature, but he wanted more of a Merkel style stock, and that's kind of what we gave him. We kind of gave him the little duck's beak up on the top, and of course it's a raised cheek pad. But what's interesting about this, I'd like to try to get this on video. If you're looking down the sights right now, you can see the gun's canted way to the left. This would be like a straight line, and it's bent over. So now if you saw the other video, you actually see the difference of the size of the stock and how it fits me. That's not exact for me. I fitted this to him, but it's a much better feel. And then on the end of it, I made a brass cap for the end and rolled it down. There's a screw that holds it on there, holds it up here. Now remember, this is a 30-06 rifle. It weighs like 5 pounds, say. Maybe 5.5 at the max. For my guns, I like them really heavy. This is meant to be like a guide gun or something that you'd carry. You got 2 shots, of course. They made it light. Well, that creates a heck of a problem with recoil. Anybody out there that shot a 30-06 knows that recoils on a heavy gun. Obviously, we need to do something with that. The size of the stock will give you a little bit less recoil, especially if it's fit to you, the way this one's fit to him. But we did something that was a little, which I would, things flying out, I forgot which drawer. This is a recoil reducer, and I put one of these in. This is from Mercury Recoil Suppressors, and they're out of Kansas. Which doesn't look like a whole lot, but it actually has mercury in it. So during the recoil, mercury goes forward and lessens the impact on your shoulder. Now, he had shot this gun in its original fashion 5 times. It got a hematoma on his shoulder, you know, a red, pretty good sized red bruise. After I completed the stock, well, it's not complete, but after I get the stock to the point that you see, we took it to the rifle range, and he had shot 20 rounds out of it, didn't even hurt his shoulder. So these things do work. Now, this is a 4-inch recoil reducer, and I actually put a 5.5 in this particular gun, but this gives you the idea. When I actually mount them in permanently, Mercury recoils wouldn't probably like this, but I take the sticker off and I glue it in the gun. Now, if you have some kind of scenario where you have the open hole to go up to the bolt in there, you can slide it in, tape around and make sure it's secured, and then they give you a 1/4 threaded insert on the back side where you can pull it back out, and then you can take the stock apart and everything. But I actually mount it above the bolt, going in line with the receiver, and it kills recoil. I've done it for a whole bunch of friends of mine with guns and different clients and stuff like that. Kills recoil. It's well worth the money. I think they're anywhere from $60 to $80 depending on which size you get retail. And if you have a gun that kicks, it doesn't have a recoil reducer in it, put it in there. So we saw the tragic mistake. Now I want to show you the difference, as well as I can on video, of the size of the 2 stocks. Now, can you see that? It's completely different. That actually fits him perfectly. So everything's similar, but everything's different. This one has a much deeper, the one I made has a much deeper pistol grip, so to speak, which in the end is going to be chopped off. We're going to take about 3/8 of an inch off that. I'm going to put ebony on the bottom. It'll be ebony and then a brass plate, and we'll engrave his initials into the bottom of it. So the part that I can show you and I can put on video is the new foregrip that we're making. So you can see that this is a rough. This piece is still in its rough. The machine work's done on it. And of course the old foregrip looked a bit like this, right? Well, if you look at the overall gun, that doesn't really match. The 2 don't match. So we're gonna, again, like you already know, we're remaking it. So as far as I've got along with that, took it off the milling machine. The client was over here yesterday, and we were fitting the different parts. That holds it into there. And then you can see the machine work on the back. This goes in here like this. Right, everything fits good, lines up. Kind of, it's not quite ready to be put on the gun, but you know, it'll go something like this. And then it's going to have a little lip on the front. It's got an overemphasized lip right now, but you kind of get the idea. And that's where we're at with that. And I'll keep the videos going on it, and you'll be able to see the finished product after we get the stock all finished and everything. But give you one little overview. It's a beautiful burl in it. Now, walnut has a tendency to crack. So what I did is I filled these, filled epoxies in the cracks. The knot was in there, you know, you bury down into the wood, start milling stuff away, you see them. Doesn't necessarily take away from the gun, gives it a little character, but we got a lot of like burl on the bottom of it that looks really pretty. You can kind of see the whole overall effect. So that's a work in progress. And I have one other, this is actually a friend of mine had dropped these two pieces off and they were broke. The bottom of the stock was broke here and the white was broke off, so I redid that for him. And I'm gonna clear this. I was gonna do it today, but it's getting a little bit late, so I think I'll clear it tomorrow. And I'll show you what that looks like on the gun. And then we'll get those two things done. And like I said, I'll keep stuff going and let you all see it as we progress along. I'm gonna try to keep these videos a little short so you don't get bored with me. So I'm gonna spray those parts, show you what they look like, and then another video we'll have the completion of the rushing gun. We'll show you a little bit of the milling and stuff going on in it. So subscribe, stay tuned, and be part of the program. Thanks.
So this is basically the same thing as last time. We're just gonna wash these parts off with some water. People think that's strange, wash wood off with, you're putting water on wood, but it's already sealed. It really doesn't matter what you do to it at this point, as long as you don't let the water saturate. It keeps all the dust down, as we talked about in the other video. And it lets me see exactly what the finished product's going to look like. I'm going to rinse them all down and get everything clean. And of course, I'm going to blow everything off, make sure it's dry. We don't have any water on it when we're getting ready to spray, and that will just cause the catastrophe. Just wash it down, wash the floor down, let the water drain out of all of the drains, and we're ready to start spraying. So blow this stuff out, putting the water on it and blowing it off serves two purposes. If you got a spot where the tape's lifting or whatever you got covered, like I have this hole up here covered, blowing it with compressed air is a lot more pressure than the gun's going to put out when it's spraying the product on there. But if it starts to lift with the compressed air, I know I have a little bit of a problem there, so I can adjust it or put more tape on or something. So the water in and blowing all the water off and drying it real good serves two purposes. Lets you clean it really nicely, and then it also shows you where you're going to have problems when you go to spray, if you are going to have any problems. The compressed air will, a lot of times you get to spray something and it hasn't been properly cleaned or whatever, and you spray it and the pressure from the spray gun will blow the dirt out onto your surface. So doing it this way avoids that problem. You're going to see it before you ever get to start spraying. So I've already got it pretty much blown off and it's dry. And I'll just finish up this one. This one's got a little bit of water coming out of the tape inside here. So I'm just going to wait before I start spraying until that's all dried out and make sure it's clean. So that gives me an indication that there's a little bit of loose tape somewhere that the water got behind. It serves more than one purpose. The finish is everything. The cleaner the finish, the better it is. You can do the fanciest project in the world. If it's got a really crappy finish on it, that's what people see first because it's on top. So we try to make sure the finish is clear all the way through to our product underneath. I'm going to start spraying this in a few minutes. Okay, one thing that you don't want to forget to do is just tack your parts up. So you've done all your wash, done all your prep, much less before, you've done all your finish work prior to your final coat. And just run a tack cloth over it. Fold it inside out, whatever you got to do. Change it around. Wipe it down because that'll pick up any of the finer particles that are left on the surface. In the years that I've been doing this, I can't tell you how many times I forgot to tack. And you go to spray and see that all the little spots on the surface, and it's like, man, forgot to tack off. I did everything else perfect, but I didn't tack right. So remember, always use your tack cloth, wipe it down, and after all that, you're ready to spray. Put your hood on, your mask on, hook up your gun, go to it now. It's as good as you're going to get it. So I have my tack cloth, I got my suit on, and the reason I do all this, put my gloves on and everything before I tack, is obviously when I'm Tacking, I want that to be as close to the time, I want to tack it as close to the time that I'm ready to spray. You don't want to tack it and then, you know, have a lot of time going in between where dust can settle on it or whatever. Not that that's, you know, but you get what I'm saying. You don't want to wait a half an hour before you tack it and then wait a half an hour to spray. That's an exaggeration on time, but I'm sure you understand what I mean. Just clean everything and make sure it looks beautiful. It's kind of like a passion, you know. Prettier something looks, the more happy you can be when it's finished. Taking pride in your work and enjoying what you do. It's a Sunday, I'm here in the shop. I'd love to be home working at the house or doing something around there, but this has got to get finished too. And if I didn't have the passion for it, it wouldn't get done. So, if you see me again, I'm going to be squirting. That's the spray gun. Okay, so we let that tack off for a few minutes, and now it's time for coat number 2. We're going to put that on a little heavier. But this stuff dries relatively fast. This product is an Italian product. 3 parts. You got the base, the converter, and the reducer. Put a couple heavy coats on it, and then the final coats go a little bit lighter and get you a nice set finish. You can already see that it's so you can see we got a couple coats on there, it's looking pretty sharp. Really nice. So I'll put this coat on, be the 3rd application basically. And I'll do one more after. 4 nice little spray coats on there. I'll be able to wrap this project up and put the gun away. Or at least put the gun together. And we'll show you what that looks like. So let's get the fan on, get the hood on, and finish the job up. So we got 3 coats on it right now, and as you see, I sprayed those. Hopefully we fast forwarded them or sped up the video so you can see it. I have this little spot right here that it's like a little indentation on it. What I'm doing is I'm sanding it with some 1200 grit paper. You can tell this product cures relatively quickly. While it's not completely hard, if I don't press on the paper too hard, I can just make that little spot just go away. And with the 1200 I can cover those scratch marks up with one coat real easy. So I'm just scratching it just a little bit, make it nice and perfect. Nothing major, just soften that spot up a little bit, make it blend. And then over here on this side, I got a little speck of dirt right there and a little speck of dirt. So even after all the cleaning I did, there's still a few little specks. Hey, they could have came out of the gun, they could have came off my suit, but 1200, a little bit 1200, and I'm just touching it. You see how much pressure I'm putting on it, hardly anything. Boom, specks are gone. Now I know I'm incredibly anal about this stuff. Like most people wouldn't really care if there's like a little tiny speck of dirt in it, but you know, my motto is you do it right or don't do it at all. And just taking out, you know, just that little bit of extra effort. This is on video, you see how long it's taken me. Virtually no time at all. A little touch, you know, boom, that's done. A little touch up here, got rid of those little marks. Okay, that looks great. I'll go ahead and just check this one and make sure. There's a little spot right there. Just work that out with the 1200. You know, obviously they're not big spots, otherwise the 1200 wouldn't take it out, but you know, just a little extra effort. Now it's like pretty much flawless. You know, just feeling for any little dirt specks or anything that might be in there. Just hit them down with the 1200, make it go away. And again, like I said, 1200 is not a very coarse sandpaper. It's not like I'm hitting it with 180 or did it do anything like that. You know, it's going to leave such deep scratches that your finishes are going to cover it up. But if you have some 1200 wet dry paper, you can use it dry. Just go over it, touch it a little bit. You know, but you got to understand as well, at the same time you're doing these little touch-ups, you don't want more dust. So it's important to go over and tack cloth it again afterwards. After you've done your little sanding, you've created a little bit of dirt in there. So you sand the little spots out. If you don't clean it properly and make sure it's tacked and there's no dust and it's going to blow back on it from what you just sanded, you might have worse spots than what you tried to repair. So I'm going to grab the tack cloth, get my gun, get ready to shoot the last coat on it. And that's really all there is to it. Just do it the same way and it all comes out perfect. I mean, it's nice and flawless and really pretty. So when he gets it back, he's going to be ecstatic and we'll have another happy customer. Or happy friend. More of a friend than he is a customer. And the reason I say it is probably not going to get a whole lot of money for my effort. So that makes him a friend, right? Beautiful. All right, let me get my tack cloth and get my spray suit on, and we'll be back. Well, I got it put back together. Finished spraying it. You saw me in the spray booth doing that. Came out pretty nice. Real happy with the finish. I think the customer's going to be real happy. 30-06 Remington 742. Not very many of these left. He's going to put a scope on it. It'll be a pretty nice looking piece. Well, we hope you enjoyed the video, and don't forget to subscribe and see what we're working on next. Maybe we'll flow a tank or something. Who knows? See y'all later.